Hi, I'm Beth Brown, a high school English teacher from Grundy County and president of the Tennessee Education Association. I want to take a few moments today to talk to you about how TEA is working for you at the state level and share with you some resources that we've created to help you and your colleagues organize at the local level around all of the issues impacting how schools reopen, when and if school buildings reopen, and in-person instruction resumes. Over the past few months, TEA has been regularly engaged in conversation with both the Department of Education and the State Board of Education. We have been able to influence policy regarding, all the way back into the spring, regarding evaluations and testing. We've had conversations and pushed back on some of the decisions that were made about waivers. We were able to influence some of those decisions. Others we were not, but we are definitely making sure that educators' concerns are considered when those decisions are being made. In addition, we have been active within the General Assembly, both in March, right after school buildings closed, and then in June when the General Assembly reconvened to discuss budget items and the economic future of our state. Tennessee is very fortunate in that we did not see the cuts to education funding that a lot of other states have seen. We were able to protect education funding and also make sure not only that we were protecting our BEP funding, but we did still keep our increase in BEP funding. We have prevented massive layoffs that other states have experienced, and that is not an accident. That is due to the hard work of TEA and our membership. And we've also made sure to keep a strong presence in the media. I know that I personally have done nearly 5 dozen interviews with various media channels, both state level and national level, to ensure that the conversations around public education are including educators' voices and educators' concerns. We are continuing that work. We continue those conversations with state policymakers. We continue to be a strong presence in the media to drive the narrative around how and when school buildings should reopen and in-person instruction resume. In all of these conversations, in all of these fights, we've made sure and we've preserved the fact that decisions about how and when to reopen school buildings is a local decision. Quite frankly, if Governor Lee had his way, all school buildings would be reopening in person immediately. Fortunately, TEA has been able to protect the fact that these decisions are local decisions. So the question becomes, can we as educators do our jobs if local infection rates are skyrocketing? And so TA has created resources for you as you are having those conversations at the local level with the decision makers, the director of school, and ultimately the school boards, because it's the local school board who makes that decision. So TA has created some resources for you that you can use working with your UniServe staff to create the best plan locally and to craft your local strategy to influence the decisions that are being made for you, your colleagues, and your students. So on our website, if you go to teateachers.org and you click on our COVID-19 resources, you're going to see 3 new buttons at the top of that web page. First of all, we have for you a checklist for reopening schools. This checklist outlines the conditions that need to be met for students and educators to be safe and healthy. And it also includes regularly updated infection rates by county, and it includes the safety threshold information that Harvard put out that we're using to guide our advocacy efforts around what are the safe thresholds for virus containment in order for buildings to be able to reopen safely. So we have that for you on our website in our COVID-19 resources page. We've also added a COVID case count tracker. We know that originally Governor Lee and Health Commissioner Piercy said that they were not going to track the COVID-19 infection rates in schools, and they were certainly not going to make that data public. We pushed back on that very hard. The governor has reversed that decision. However, we will continue to track that data because we feel like it's important for us to be able to identify areas of the state where we're continuing to see cases rise, and we can monitor how districts are responding to new and rising infection cases and infection rates. So that COVID case count tracker is on our website. We encourage you to look at that and to report what's happening in your area. The other new button you're going to see in those COVID-19 resources is a place where you can report working and learning conditions. We have been assured by the state that all measures are being taken to ensure safe working and learning conditions. We have created a place for you to report if there are not safe learning and working conditions, and we've got a variety of things listed there, from you're not being able to take a break to take care of your personal needs, or you don't have enough disinfectant supplies, or there aren't any substitute. The list is pretty extensive, and there's also a place for you to report other things that we may not have yet considered. So I encourage you to look at those resources. These are all ways to gather data that you can use at the local level, again, to put pressure on the decision makers so that they're making the best decisions in the interest of health, safety, and well-being of your students and yourself and your colleagues. I know that we have some districts across the state who have already started the new school year, and I don't want you to think that our efforts at the state level and your efforts at the local level are just done because some of you have reopened your buildings. We've always said if and when school buildings reopen and in-person instruction resumes. We know that the coronavirus is not contained in the state of Tennessee. It is very likely that many buildings that have reopened will ultimately have to close again, and learning will have to be done virtually. So we have these resources for you to again help you track that data and have the best information possible to drive your local strategy and decision making. And I cannot emphasize enough that this is a local issue. I know that it would be really helpful if the decisions could be made at the state level, and it would be, I guess it would be a lot easier, but that's not the case, and quite frankly, we should be very thankful for that because Governor Lee wants all buildings to be reopened in person. So we have to remember, again, this is a local issue, and as you are organizing around this issue and trying to influence decision makers, we need to be thinking about how we can engage our parents, our faith leaders, our business leaders, and other members of the community to work together with us. You are the people who have those local connections. I certainly don't know your communities the way you do. So I encourage you, as you are having those conversations at the local level and you are thinking about what decisions need to be made, include your communities. They're an important part of that conversation, and they are our greatest allies in getting decisions influenced at the local level. Please know that I and your TEA Board of Directors and all members of the TEA staff, from our interim executive director, Terrence Gibson, to everybody who's out working in the field, we are all working very hard for you every single day. You matter, you're important, and we appreciate you so much. Please remember that you have a field staff in your area, your UNICEF director who is dedicated to you and your community. And if you don't know who your UNICEF director is, I encourage you again to go to our website. You can find out who your staff person is. We are there for you. We are fighting with you and for you, and we will keep doing that. Stay safe and take care.